I think it would have to be a physical apparition in front of me, threatening serious harm on me and my family. You know what
It
I
would have
mean?
to be like a demon scratching at me.
I'm going to incite violence.
Pushing
Lozzie's
back.
going to throw me across the
Look, just
to
do
see what
what I
happens.
just did to Scott. Hello, everyone. We're back. Drip. We're all together. Well, actually, we're minus 2 people, but you know, the
Oh,
best ones.
shock. They're
The
not
best ones.
here again.
I know. They can't have holidays. It's not fair.
No.
It's not fair. Well, I don't, I'm very cautious about whether I say what episode this is because I don't know where this is going to come, like when it's going to get uploaded, or
Yeah.
if it gets uploaded at all. I don't know.
That's it.
But
We've had worse ones that have been uploaded, so
well, yeah,
We haven't done this one yet,
it's
Scott. So
going to
let's,
yeah,
you know.
that's how bad some of the previous ones were.
30 seconds in. Scott's rating this one already. Well,
Brilliant.
Scott, you
Solid.
did come up with the theme and the idea for this one. So do you want to tell the listeners and the viewers what it is?
Yes. So what I thought I'd do, since I've got you two here, and you are
Mhm.
both very skeptical, I
Mhm.
thought I would scour the web, find some ghost stories that have turned skeptics into believers of the paranormal.
Oh,
Nice.
So I'm going to go through. I think I've got about 12. I'm going to go through, read the stories out, and then get your thoughts, and obviously work out if it happened to you, would it make you a believer?
oh.
Solid. I like it. I think
Fingers crossed.
first we'll establish. Well, I think everyone knows, right? I think Bailey, you're slightly more a believer than I am. Would
Yeah,
you
I would.
agree?
I would definitely agree that I'm slightly more open to the things than you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
So
I'm not leaps and bounds, but like, yeah,
yeah. So if these stories manage to sway me, I think there's no question that there is, paranormal stuff going on and that exists,
yeah,
to be honest. So you can have a hard job, Scott, but I'm
Yeah.
sure you've picked some good
yeah.
stories.
Hard
And
job. Some say impossible, but it's okay.
yes,
You know,
yeah, I think the odds are stacked against you, to be honest.
harder
But
battles have been won.
that's it. David
Not
against
many,
Goliath.
but
Hmm.
That happened apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I've heard.
Maybe one of these stories. I don't know. Maybe it's got a
Yeah,
David
yeah,
and Goliath in it. Don't know. I
possibly.
have. I've heard,
Um,
sorry, Scott. I was just going to say
go
I
on.
have heard some of the names of these stories.
Oh,
The titles are going to be immense. I'll just let you know.
I'm excited.
I did title these myself.
Nice. Oh, I'm even more excited.
Don't get too
Oh, I'm
excited.
here for it. I'm here for it.
Um, so I want to preface this by saying I sourced these from a combination of Reddit r/ghosts,
Mhm.
Nice.
uh, Quora, which is the questions and answers website, and there were some from a BuzzFeed article that I stumbled across, where BuzzFeed got
BuzzFeed.
it from their community chat board.
Nice.
So a nice range of locations.
Okay.
And to
So
be
with
fair,
that,
BuzzFeed did have quite a, they when they had what were their names, Ryan
Shane
and
and Ryan, yeah,
Shane. That was probably the best thing they ever did, BuzzFeed. But now they've got their own stuff going on. So BuzzFeed is now dead to me. Anyway, Scott, you've got a slideshow,
I
so
do.
Oh, and yes,
he
I
loved
love
this.
a fucking classic Scott slideshow.
Right,
Tell
without
us
That's
further
about the
it.
point.
I
let's get
believe.
on the screen. Let's go.
Okay, so we've got ghost stories that turn skeptics into believers, and we're going to start off with Shadow in the Doorway.
Oh,
Love the title.
that's
So
good.
these are obviously written from the perspective of the people that are posting them on the various chat boards. In this one, I got into ghost hunters and ghost adventures, but always felt like everything they saw was bullshit. Around 2006 to 2007, I moved into my grandparents' house to help my grandfather care for my cousins and grandmother. My family's been the only ones to ever live in that house, but my mum, aunts, and uncles used to tell us about having strange experiences when they were younger. My aunt would tell me that she hates to be in the house alone at night. My sister and I used to say it was because there's a cemetery down the block, but it was always sort of a joke between us. One day I was alone downstairs. The house is old, so you always hear when people are moving around. I heard nothing but the faint sound of my grandmother's TV upstairs. All of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see a shadow of a head and shoulders look into the rec room and then lean back out. My heart was pounding. I sat still, waiting for anything, but nothing else happened. I was unable to write this off, but I eventually forgot about it. Cut to Christmas time after my grandmother had died. My cousins had moved to a different city with my uncle, and my mum and sister came to visit for the holidays. My mum was out with her friend, my grandfather was upstairs, and my sister and I were in the rec room talking. All of a sudden, my sister gets this funny look on her face, and she's looking over my shoulder. I asked her what was up. She said nothing, but she was still looking at the door. Again, I asked what. She told me that she saw a shadow lean in the room and then lean back out. I knew I hadn't been seeing things.
Ooh. See,
Well,
I'll be honest, Scott. The first mention of the shadow, it said a shadow of a head and shoulders looked into the room. I completely just didn't think of an actual head and shoulders. I just thought it was a shadow of a shampoo bottle.
I don't
I was
know
like, oh
what's
yeah, no,
more.
yeah, not that head and shoulders, right?
I don't know what's more off-putting.
Yeah, but
Mm.
I thought the fucking shadow in the doorway. I thought this was going to be your ghost story, Scott. When you had the
No.
shadow behind you,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. That is a good point. To be fair,
and that
No,
was
it's very similar.
head and shoulders.
it was very similar.
Mhm.
None of us saw that at the time, though, did we? So probably.
Very spooky.
Yeah.
I mean, I have had a similar experience with like. I fully believe it's just a trick of the light or just my imagination. I've had
Yeah,
this before, where I think I've seen like a head pop around a corner, but there's so many things in my house that could make that sort of reflection or that shadow on a wall, and then I just
yeah,
a glance and I see it. So, I mean, I don't think shadow in the doorway is gonna get me there in terms of believing, but she does have the fact that another person has obviously seen the same thing that she has.
yeah.
Mhm.
Gives a bit of credit, I suppose. Are we doing the classic rating out of 10?
I think we have to.
Oh yeah.
Oh God,
Do
okay.
you want to kick it off, Loz?
As I can't very famously now rate it as 0 because I don't think that's fair. We'll hit it off with a 1.
Oh,
Right. Now, very similar to you, Loz. I've experienced a lot of things that kind of look like a head and shoulders popping round like the corner of the door, but because it's always a shadow, you instantly put it down to the light. Like where, like say for instance, my living room, where my front door is a hallway, and I've like into my living room from like you see my front door with a glass on it. There's a lot of cars that come up and down like the car park opposite and then past. So like the light goes through, can reflect something in the hallway onto the door to make it look like something's popping through. So when it comes to actual shadows itself, I will always put it down to something has made that shadow from a passing by because it's not always there. So it's either like the light coming through or whatever. The
Yeah.
only time I'll start getting panicky is if I saw physical face features. Do you know what I mean? Like you see, and you know, then we, done a little bit crazy. But like, yeah, shadows. I'm gonna have to. I'll follow it up with a 2. Scott.
More lenient.
Yeah, a little bit more
so
lenient because of the 2 people seeing it at different doors. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna give it a 2.
that is fair. I think, like you said, I think the second person seeing it, I think, adds a little bit more credibility,
Yeah,
especially if the first person never mentioned it.
yeah,
But yeah, I think it's a very sort of basic starting point. I'm going to go in at a 3. I think.
nice.
3.
Scott,
So
I don't know if you mentioned this, but are these all like actual genuine, like to your knowledge, genuine
mhm.
accounts?
As
Right.
far as I'm
Okay.
aware, these are all in response to the question, "Skeptics, what made you a
Right.
believer?"
Okay. Okay.
or
So
a similar
we
phrased
will go
question.
into this with full thought that this
Mhm.
actually happened. Okay, got ya.
Yeah, reading these through, I think they all feel believable.
Yeah.
None of them feel,
Okay.
extreme. Well,
Well,
there might be
one
one.
one question I do have about this is the whole skeptics, or the whole not believing and then believing after these stories have appeared. Is it from the perspective of the person telling it who has changed their mind, or is it just people who have read the story in general have now believe in?
People, as far as I can tell, it's people telling it. So
Okay,
there's a
Right.
couple that start with, "I was always skeptical until,"
right,
Okay.
and there's a
Okay, makes
couple that I
sense.
think I think there's a couple. I may not have included a couple, but there's some that say, uh, you know, "I'm still a skeptic, but I can't explain this."
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like the mirror. We say
Yeah,
100 times, but it's like the mirror.
yeah.
fair
Okay,
play.
so on to number 2, locked in.
Ooh.
I like to think
Nice.
this one might resonate slightly more with you, Bailey.
Okay.
Do you wanna read this one, Lars?
I can do. I always kind of wanted to believe, but couldn't get myself to fully commit since I had never seen anything I couldn't explain. That all changed a couple of years ago when my husband and our two young kids moved into this cute little A frame house. A frame, is that like the point at the top, or is that
Okay.
wrong?
That's
That
what I
makes
took it to
sense.
believe.
Yeah, that
Right.
makes sense.
My oldest child, who was 3 at the time, started talking about all the people in the kitchen. My husband and I couldn't see anything. Then weird little things started to happen, like the TV would come back on after I was positive I had turned it off. Also, there was a strange tapping or clicking sound that we could hear only at night. But the scariest event happened shortly before we moved. My husband, 2 kids, my brother in law, and I were all outside. No one was inside. My 4-year-old needed to use the bathroom. So he went inside and closed the door behind him so the cat didn't get out. Some time went by and I was getting concerned that he wasn't back outside yet. So I went to go in and check on him, but the door was locked. I could hear him inside crying because he couldn't get out. The only lock on the door was the ancient deadbolt, and to get it to lock, you have to pull all your weight on the door and turn the lock at the same time. There
Okay.
is no way my son could have done that. He could hardly even reach it. This was the only entrance to the house, so my husband crawled through the bathroom window to get him. My son was hysterical and said he heard the lock while he was in the bathroom, but didn't see anything. Freaked me out.
Right.
So to start it off, there is a slight discrepancy, I think, in this story. Because in the second paragraph, their oldest child is 3 years old, and in the
Oof.
third paragraph, that apparently is happening before their 4-year-old needs the toilet.
They've okay.
So they've misaged their child at some point in here, but other than that,
Oof.
what are we
Hmm.
That's.
thinking?
I mean, any story that involves a child in any, let's just say, danger heightens the story because you're like, let's save the kid. I hope the kid gets saved. But I don't know. I mean, it's not really. I mean, they've explained that the kid couldn't lock the door and that there was only one entrance into that part of the house, I think they said. So strange. It is strange. I'm not really sure. Like, I've never really come across what was it? A deadbolt? Was it a deadbolt?
Yeah.
What are they? Is that
So
like?
that's the
Deadbolts are
ones
the
you just slide
ones.
across, I think,
Yeah, you
isn't it?
just slide across.
Oh, it slides across,
Yeah.
right?
So
Slide across,
basically,
then
what
turn the
it's saying
handle down.
is the door didn't line up with the latch properly, so you had to pull the whole door to, so you could
Right.
then slide the bolt into the catch that would be on the frame of the door.
Okay.
So it kind of does require that adult sort of weight to actually
Yeah.
lock it.
And then, it kind of takes away oh, maybe the door was kind of semi near the lock, like, the not the classic twist ones, just underneath the handle you have.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's semi on the lock, and when he shut the door, it kind of clicked it in to make it look like, do you know what I mean? But
Mm.
because of the whole pulling the weight and then pulling the deadbolt across that he couldn't really reach, apparently, is very, very odd.
Yeah. Are we completely ruling out the cat doing this.
I think we can rule out the cat doing it.
I just want to explore all options
That's
because
fine.
I've got 2 cats and they are absolute bastards. So
Yeah,
this is the sort of behaviour I'd expect. But,
understandable.
yeah. I don't know. I
It's a
mean,
tricky one.
the fact that it may be just a simple mistake, but I'm a skeptic and also a cynic. So the fact that they've aged their child older in the past compared to a different tense, I think this is going to go down for me a 2.
Ooh,
It's better than the first one, but I think
better.
they've basically used the trope of making the story about a child, where you're like, the child needs to be saved. Please, I hope the
Yeah.
child is saved.
So
So,
rereading that as well, there is a chance that they then moved out of the house in the middle and then moved a
okay,
third time for the last story, in which case it would make sense, but
okay.
they need more detail.
Hmm.
I'll tell you what, I'll do him a favour. I'll knock it up to a 3.
Oof,
Jeez. That's it. Pod
I'll knock
over.
it up
He
to a 3.
believes.
done it.
See, I reckon I'll probably be. He said this is really tricky because if these are like genuine people, like genuine stories, which to me, obviously, this doesn't sound very far fetched compared to some ghost stories that you hear
Mhm.
online. It does seem like something that could very like easily happen to anyone. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not, oh yeah, I don't know. It's very strange, but I reckon I'll probably give it a 2 of like ghost activity 2.
Mhm.
Right.
But like, could it have been a mistake by the door or whatever? Then maybe I don't know, but I don't have an explanation for it.
Yeah, I
But
mean, if that happened to you and your children,
um,
what would be your immediate thoughts?
he's locked the door. That would be my immediate thought that he's just locked the door out of habit and forgotten that he's done it.
Okay.
That
That
would
is a
that would be
possibility.
my go-to.
Mhm. Solid possibility.
I'll just ask the question because I don't have kids, so I don't know like what you do. Do you let 4-year-olds go to the toilet by themselves? Is that something they're capable of doing?
Yeah, yeah, you can let a
Right.
4-year-old go to the toilet by himself.
I don't
I
know. I
mean, he
just
might. It depends what he's doing, but he might scream, "Daddy, I'm finished," and then you got to go and
see.
give him a wipe. But other than that, no, they can go to the toilet on their own, mate.
Cool. There you
They're
go.
all right.
Yeah, I didn't want to ask that, but I was also thinking,
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
four
I don't know the
four-year-olds are more
age
than
sort of
capable.
barriers.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
Okay, good. I'll I'll probably go for a 3 for that one, I think, as well.
nice.
The bolt closing on its own, weird, obviously unexplainable-ish. There were things that you can't rule out for it, like the door being at a slight angle and the bolt just sliding along.
There's
Yeah.
just too many variables. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when it comes to something like that, like the kid could have absolutely heaved it shut from wide open to slam
Ah,
it. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'm not gonna back down to a 2. Sorry.
Oof.
I just from all these points have been raised, I'm just like,
Yeah,
just
I
gonna be
didn't
careful.
think that movement from a further distance. That's it.
And I didn't know this 4-year-old was absolutely jacked. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
nearly pulled the whole door off the hinges. I heard.
That's it.
Took down the A-frame on his way in.
That's-
Um,
Bosh.
so next up we have Relative Through the Smoke.
Ooh,
These
Um,
titles are spot on.
they're
I know
good.
yeah.
exactly what the story's gonna be about from the title, and I respect that.
That's good.
So this story begins around 2018. I did not believe in ghosts back then, but I do now after this experience. One night when I went to my grandma's house, I went to the back porch where she was talking to my uncle drinking coffee. I came over, said hello, and sat down on a lounge chair to join the conversation. They'd been talking about a relative who'd passed away recently, who lived not so far from there. She mentioned he was a good man and always helped her around her house by taking care of the animals on her land and keeping her company since she lived alone. She explained he died from a heart attack. As we were talking about him and how good of a man he was, feels weirdly specific, that bit. Um,
He was a good man, trust me.
he was a
Good
good
man.
man.
Honestly.
Uh, this person got the sudden feeling someone was staring at them. I turned my head to the right to look inside her patio and noticed she had the fire pit turned on, and there was a tall man standing there, but I could only see his lower body because his face was covered with the smoke from the fireplace. He was tall and looked at us. He was tall and looking at us with his hands to his sides in an abnormal position with his fingers opened. He was wearing a white long sleeve t shirt and light blue jean shorts and sandals. I only saw him for a little bit, probably 10 seconds or so. My heart started racing and I asked my grandma if there was someone else with her. She said no. I told her what I saw and she got a frightened look on her face. My description of the apparition I saw matched what her relative was wearing when he died. My uncle went into the house to double check but found no one. While driving back home that night, I felt scared and officially became a believer in the paranormal.
Wow.
Okay.
What do we
See,
think?
now this one may surprise you, but I kind of have a similar story myself.
Okay.
Not personally. This is a story that my mum's told me, and she this is like when she lived in the house that we all grew up in. She said like not long after her dad passed, she was in the garden like hanging out washing on the washing line, and
Yeah.
she swears blind that when she like kind of put a shirt up to kind of hang it and then turned like because yeah, it was one of them like rotating washing lines. As she rotated it, she could see like her dad standing at the back door, not looking like ghostly or anything, but like dead ass as if he was standing there just looking out the window at her. As she like kind of like adjusted her eyes to look, and it was just gone. But she swears blind that it was definitely him. Obviously, it couldn't have been, but like so, it's a very similar sort of vibe.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Very strange.
Yeah.
Did she say she could only see the bottom half? Yeah. So the bottom half.
Mm,
Yeah, I tell you what, the jean shorts and sandals. That's a look.
that is a
Mm.
look.
That is a look. Also, she said, I'm picking out bits that really don't matter, but my brain does this, right? She said she turned on the fire pit. How the fuck do you do that? Is it like an electrical one then?
Electric fire. Well,
Yeah.
is it? Did it say fire pit or fireplace?
It says both in here, but I'm guessing that was just a typo. I'm going to assume
Right.
fire pit because it was on the patio
I'll just
Yeah.
turn that on.
or
Yeah.
inside the patio. So maybe, I guess if it's a fireplace, you wouldn't see someone on the other side of it because they'd be in the
No.
fireplace.
True.
So I'm going with fire pit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fire pit. Yeah. You must be out. Well,
You
can you
probably
get an
can.
electric fire pit? Let us know in the comments below.
Have you got one? Is this your
Mm.
story?
That's it.
I mean, the
Yeah, if any of
chance.
these are you, let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I
So, yeah, it's a tougher one, this, because there's nothing like groundbreaking in here. None
Yeah.
of these so far have been really like extreme, which I think makes them more believable because it's kind of just a thing
yeah.
that happens that you sort of see briefly.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of similar to the first one ish
Yeah.
in the sense that it's not necessarily corroborated by someone else, but it's elevated by the fact that they've apparently asked the question and just like, oh shit, that's what they were wearing when he died.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
okay.
I also feel like this one has more weight than the first one as well, because obviously the first one was sort of just like a shadow peering, but they've pulled out like distinctive features of what they saw.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? So
I think for me, the little bit in the middle where it's talks about how he's standing in an abnormal position with his fingers open feels like a sort of lot of detail in a very unnecessary place for it to be made. Like if you were making this story up, I don't think that's the detail you'd focus on.
no, okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
So I feel like, I feel like the fact that there's detail in like little places like that makes it stand out a little bit more to me potentially.
Yeah.
Mm. Fingers open as well. Was it just like the palm, like palms of the hands like that, but down.
But by his side, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Or was
That
they
is weird.
out? What were they? Was he by his side? Abnormal position was.
Um,
Oh, yeah, hands to his side in an abnormal position with his fingers open. Okay. Maybe he was just kind of just had his hands out, just warming them by the fire.
by the fire potentially.
You know.
Yeah.
Because whenever there's a fire, you like that to it. But obviously not down by your side. That is an abnormal position. But maybe that's how he liked to warm his hands.
Yeah.
Maybe. We're
So
in no
what?
position to, lecture people on how they warm their hands. You
Yeah.
do
No.
what you do.
How do you warm your
Mhm.
hands? Let us know.
Let us know. There you go.
So what are
What
we thinking out of 10 then?
I think it is better than the
Tough.
first one.
Yeah, I agree.
It's similar sort of track to the story, but I do think it's better.
Mhm.
So, 2.
Okay.
So this is now on par with the sliding latch on the door
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Okay. Bailey?
So I'm gonna give this one a 4
Oh.
because like I've heard like from my mum a very similar sort of story. Do you know what I mean? Like a very
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, okay. I it's obviously not exactly the same, but it's kind of around the same sort of ballpark. Do you know what I mean? So I'm gonna
Yeah.
give it a 4 on
Cool.
that one.
I think a 4 is about right. I think it's got more believability than the one, and I think it's probably more of a paranormal sort of thing than the
Yeah,
sliding latch. And
yeah,
so I think a 4. I think a 4 is solid. I think I'll go with that as
yeah.
well. So after that, we move on to Firefighter's Guardian Angel, which, if you want to read this one, Loz.
I can do. So, years ago, my crew and I responded to a box for a structure fire to help a neighboring department. The big old house was down a dirt road out in the boonies. I don't know what that is or where that is. I'm guessing it's a place or a nickname for a place.
I would
It
assume so.
wa- it was minus 20. Not is it 20 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 20 degrees Celsius? Because those are very different.
I would guess this is America, so
Fahrenheit.
I would guess Fahrenheit.
Well, if we find out where the boonies are,
True. Yeah. Could have a quick search. It was minus 20 out and snowing. Just a miserable night in general. As soon as we pulled up, we got right to work. My buddy and I and our sergeant went inside, but they were losing the house. As I was moving stuff out of our way and doing a search, I could tell that the conditions were becoming dangerous and told my sergeant just after I let him know. We all heard a female voice say, "What are you doing? You have to get out now." We pulled out, and I was the last dude out the door. As I crossed the threshold, the roof collapsed and would have killed us all if we had stayed in. I just ad libbed that in, but anyway, I I went looking for the lady that saved our asses to say thank you and shake her hand, but there wasn't a female firefighter, cop, or person in the area. I dismissed it. 2 weeks later, I was taking a Sunday drive with my grandparents. They loved that I had become a firefighter and liked seeing our different scenes and hearing the stories. So I figured I'd show them this one. As I pulled into the driveway, my grandmother started crying. Apparently, this was her mum's home when she passed away, and many family members swore that they had seen her spirit for years after. And then it hit me. There were multiple witnesses, many reports, and even photos of different apparitions in that house from different owners. My great grandmother's spirit saved three lives in a fire on a brutal winter's night. From that day on, and with other incidents, I'm a true believer.
So to start this one off, I did just ask my Google where the boonies are. Apparently, the boonies is an American slang for a rural and kind of out of the way area.
right? So
So
like
this
out
is
in the
not
sticks.
Yeah, so this is nowhere in specific. It's just
Okay.
somewhere a bit small town kind of vibe.
Just yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
America then. So -20 Fahrenheit.
I would
Suss
assume
it.
so, yeah. Not too bad. What do
Right.
we think of the story?
It's a cool story. I'm not
Mhm.
gonna lie. It is a really cool story. And it's one of them ones that are kind of I don't know, it's kind of like this one's not sort of like the other ones are kind of just very much like, oh, could it have been this, could it have been that. Obviously this could have just been anyone else's voice that he just misheard it as a woman's voice. Obviously that is a possibility. But then having the whole tie-in with the grandparents, etc., feels very much more storytelling than like an experience telling. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
It feels very structured.
it feels very structured and
Yeah.
it feels more like an actual story than somebody's experience. Obviously, I
Yeah, I mean
might be wrong.
that's literally a plot twist at the end.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I might be wrong, but you know, when it comes to a female's voice, it could have just been another firefighter who may not have a deep voice like all the other firefighters or whatever. You know, I'm assuming that if you're in a house that is burning down, it'd be quite loud, so you can really like distinguish voices perfectly. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
You also
don't
got
know.
a lot of equipment on,
Yeah,
helmet, fucking
Mhm.
ears around you, all the like clothing and that is around your
yeah,
neck and your ears potentially.
Yep.
I did like personally love the bit where he said I could tell the conditions were becoming dangerous whilst going into a building on fire. That
yeah.
just
That's a great
I did enjoy that.
observation.
Yeah.
I would call that an educated guess at best.
Yeah,
From my
maybe.
years of experience as a firefighter, I could tell this was a situation that was getting dangerous.
Yeah.
I think the flames were the big indicator.
After a
Um,
closer analysis, this house was fucked.
so, the voice, "What are you doing? You have to get out now." Even if I heard that, if I was a firefighter, I probably would use my own judgment, not base that on, hearing what someone else said to an
Mm.
extent.
In this scenario, though, you'd be dead
Yeah, you'd
That
be
is
dead,
true. I
Scott.
would be dead. Yeah, that is true. I would have perished in a fire in the boonies.
in the boonies. The worst place to die in a fire.
Mm.
At least, after a while, considering the temperature, you'd cool back down again. I mean, you'd still be dead, but you'd cool back down
Yeah,
pretty
it's
fast.
like there's got to be a nice middle ground here where it's too hot, too cold. Halfway
So,
out the door, it's got to be just about right.
yeah, I mean that is it's very Hollywood timing, though, isn't it? It's very.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
As I crossed the threshold, the roof collapsed.
Did it though? No,
This is
Mm.
manufactured.
Oof.
that's it.
I do. I like the story. The
Yes.
story is actually quite entertaining, but do I call bullshit on some stuff in this or all of it? Those are the options I have. I think it is a bit too produced to be like the twist at the end is just
Yeah.
Mhm. The twist is the big thing that's kind of throwing me off.
Do you want
yeah.
to
There
kick it
were
off, Loz?
yeah. I think if we're rating it as a story,
Oh, right.
if we're rating it as a story, it would be pretty high because it's
Yeah.
got entertaining factors in it. But I'm rating it as a paranormal story, so I'll give it a 2.
Whoa.
I'll give it a 2. It's better than the first one, which is now going to be how I rate all the further stories.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
What about you, Bailey?
I I think this is too manufactured as like as an like a standalone ghost story. I think I would say like it's like a 7 or 8 as like in a storytelling like perspective. I think it's a
Mhm.
great story, but going on the fact that this is, do I believe this? I'm at a 1. I don't believe it in the slightest that this happened. You know, if I'm wrong, then shoot me down in the street or whatever. But nah,
That's a very brutal way to disagree with someone.
yeah,
I mean, obviously, if you were the firefighter and
yeah,
this happened to you and this was your story, I think you would believe.
yes. That's
Full
the
stop.
thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and there's there's nothing to really argue that. But do I believe it after the story's being told to me? I'm putting it down to a 1, Scott.
Hmm. I think I'm going to agree because again, it feels far too structured. It almost feels produced.
It feels written.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think as good a story as it is in terms of believability, I think it has to be a 1.
Whoa!
Oh, there you go. Low
Lozzie
scores.
believes it more than us.
That's actually made me quite upset.
So
There's another bit in this that I was slightly confused by. There were multiple witnesses, many reports, and even photos of different apparitions in the house.
yeah, I don't know where that came from. That's just been tacked on at the end to make it sound more ghosty, I think.
So there's just like it was connected to his former family, but also there was loads of other apparitions that had
Yeah,
appeared.
yeah.
Okay.
There's a bit of a
So
hot spot.
super famous haunted house is what he's basically thrown in at the end.
Okay.
Was this the farmhouse?
Oof.
Might be.
Would you describe that as being in the boonies?
Is that away?
It's all,
Oof.
I don't know if it's regularly -20, but maybe. I don't
I
know.
don't know. I don't know what -20 is in Celsius. What's -20 in Celsius? Just saying.
That is
I
a
mean,
good
it
question.
hasn't
Yeah,
snowed
that is
since the
true.
place burned down, so it's definitely not. But just saying. Could have been.
Yeah. So next up, we have Bar Basement Ghost.
Bar basement ghost.
My
Bar-based.
son's father worked at a bar.
Nice.
It's an older building, and one day before they opened, I came in to see him. As I walked in, the other bartender told me he was in the basement where the liquor cage was, and he was taking inventory. He told me to go ahead down. As I turned the corner and looked down the rickety wooden stairs, I saw him legs turning the corner at the bottom of the stairs and called out to him. He kept walking, and I ran down the stairs, calling him a couple more times. When I got to the bottom, I again saw him turn to left around another corner and towards the back of the cellar. I followed him and was like, "What the fuck? Can you not hear me?" The back of the cellar had an old freezer in it, and I figured he was grabbing a popsicle, but I couldn't see anything. Yeah,
Why?
I don't know. Um, then out of nowhere, I hear him call me from behind. I turn around and he's inside the liquor cage. I was so confused. I literally followed him around the corner twice, though I realized I hadn't ever really seen him. Um, like he was just barely in my sight both times. It was weird, but I didn't mention it to anyone until about a year later. I was drinking in the bar after close and just flippantly and half jokingly said, "One time I saw a ghost in the basement," and two other people looked at me really freaked out. We all told very similar stories, following someone just out of sight and always in the basement, dark pants, a male figure.
Oh,
I mean, it's a solid story, I think.
I mean, straight off the bat, this sounds like a story that somebody has experienced and is telling. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, this
Mhm.
one is literally the polar opposite to the previous story in the way
Yeah.
that it's written and the structure of it.
I mean,
Yeah.
this almost feels like a Facebook comment.
Yeah,
Yeah. It
definitely with
quite.
the 3 question marks.
Yeah.
The
Can you not
WTF
hear
is
The
me?
definitely it.
WTF. The
Yeah,
WTF.
the popsicle
But
bit did get a giggle.
yeah,
I figured he was grabbing a popsicle because that's the only thing stored in freezers. Yeah, that's the only thing.
Anyone
um,
ever goes to a freezer is always eyeing up a popsicle. That's
yeah.
common knowledge.
I mean, to be fair, every time I open up my freezer, I'm like, God, it's the last one. The kids might cry. I'm gonna take it.
So, what are we thinking in terms of believability and in terms of, I guess, kind of fear?
it's hard for me to visualize the path that this person's taking, not to be able to see the person fully, but
So
still follow them.
my idea, the way I pictured it was like as he saw him, he kind of maybe saw like
Just the legs.
just like the side of the back and maybe just one leg going in that direction, and then when he goes round the corner, he sees the same thing, just like maybe a part of the back and maybe just like one leg standing there about to take a step to carry on walking down in that
Mhm.
direction. That's how
Yeah.
I visioned it.
That's how I'm also kind of picturing it.
Yeah. This is I don't know, because this one's sort of like I don't know. Obviously, like we said, we've experienced things like the first one where you kind of see something like a shadow. This one's obviously not not coming on for a trick of a light, because it's the same thing that he's seen from different angles, like straight after each other. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you could put this down to being like a trick of the light, because if it was a trick of the light, then surely you would see it every single time you went down there.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's going to have the
Yeah.
same light source at the same brightness every time you go down that into that basement. So I don't know.
Yeah.
This is really tricky one, to be fair. It's not
There's-
very far fetched, even though
No,
obviously it's like a paranormal man that he's seen. It's not. It's not very far fetched.
there's nothing
Mm.
here immediately making me think this is fake or there's something in here that is, difficult to believe. It all feels very, like you said, I fully believe that this person could have gone to the top of the stairs, looked down, and seen the tail end of someone
Yeah,
walking out of sight
I can
and
picture
gone.
it. Like literally picture it.
And then directly after being told that the person they're looking for is down, they're gone, oh, that will be him going that way.
Yeah,
So I think in terms of believability, I could see this.
yeah.
Mm. I don't know. There are certain things in the story that bug me a little bit.
Ooh, go
One,
on.
I feel like this would have happened often enough that it would definitely have come up within a year, because he said he didn't mention it to anyone until about a year later, and then they all suddenly had the same sort of similar stories. I feel like if this happened as regular as it is made out to have happened,
Yeah.
I feel like that would have come up sooner. Also, I don't know why, but I've just read the first
I'm
line of
literally reading it myself now.
and why are they saying it's my son's father? Why do they not just say it's their partner or their ex-partner? That's
Yeah, I
so
could,
See,
weird.
now I'm reading it as if my son's father. Well, then that's you.
unless this is a woman.
Oh,
I don't think they specify their own
then
gender in here,
then say my husband
or my ex,
or my
or
boyfriend
Yeah.
yeah,
or
It's just I don't know. That makes it
my
I don't
baby
know
daddy.
whether it's something that makes it more genuine or more fake. I can't decide.
my son's father worked at a bar. So this must be coming from the perspective of a female, then, right?
Yeah, I would assume so.
See, now I didn't that when I first read that paragraph, like that line a minute ago when you were talking there, Loss, I just didn't compute that this could be coming from the eyes of a female. I was just like, well, that's you. You're the son's father.
Don't know. It's just that is just thrown me.
Yeah,
My son's father. Yeah, it could just be your boyfriend or husband
yeah.
or whatever. Yeah. Anyway,
Just make it more complicated. Just
yeah.
for the sake of it. I
Why
do
are you
like.
brain fucking me? Just tell me how it is, man. Like, is it your boyfriend? Is it your husband? I was crack. Oh
So
dear.
out of 10, what are we thinking?
Well, I sort of won now after that.
Yeah, I don't think it's any better than a one.
Ooh.
I don't think this one's any better than the first story. So
No, I think it's probably on the same sort of, you know, yeah. I've but that now my son's father's thrown me off as a one.
I'll give it a 2, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's very similar. Let's say it's very similar to the first story in that you see something almost out the corner of your eye,
Yeah.
and then a few other people have gone, "Oh, I saw that too."
Mm,
It's written very differently, and it's got a lot of setting to it, but when you break it down, it is just the same
yeah. I
basic
think
tale.
I believe I believe this more as like this person genuinely thinks that this is what they've seen
Mhm.
than some of the others just going off the way that it's written. Do you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
would believe that this is someone's genuine experience that they are telling someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see how you'd think that from the way that it's written, like you
Yeah,
say.
just simply going off the way that it's written. It's not like trying to entertain. It's not trying to have, it's just telling an experience.
It's almost just relaying the facts.
Yeah, it's just relaying
Yeah.
what's happened. Yeah.
Mhm. Cool. Okay. So the next one after this one is The Button Up Ghost.
No.
Hey guys. So my experience begins when I was about 11 years old. Now, from purely from where this is on the skeptics that became believers type thing, I feel like they've put this in the wrong place because up until you're 11, I don't know if you can class yourself as being a skeptic until then. I feel like you're too
Yeah,
young to have really made a determination,
yeah,
I would say at 11 years old, you fully believe that ghosts are real.
at least to some extent. I think,
Do you
yeah,
know what I
the
mean?
thought's at least there.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
I don't know if there's any. I hope this is probably not safe, or not safe, but not suitable for children to watch and listen to. But I would imagine that there are still like 11-year-olds who imagine or who think that Santa's still real. You know what I mean?
and,
Obviously, if
I
you
mean,
are
we
one
would go,
and you are
yeah.
a believer, he is real. Don't worry about it. I don't want to destroy your childhood. Fine.
That sentence alone has destroyed it.
Oh, you put us into a corner here.
He's not real. He's not real. You've been lied to. Talk
Oh,
to your mum and dad.
Yeah.
I'm
oh,
sure
we're
they'll
going to
have something
tank
to say
subs
about it.
after this.
That's it.
Well,
Um,
it is what it is.
I was staying at my grandma's house and saw an old man wearing a button-up shirt reading a newspaper at my grandma's dining room table by her front door. I saw it out the corner of my eye, but I had time to get a good look at him before he almost instantly vanished. I later asked my cousin if she'd ever experienced anything paranormal in the house, and she then went on to describe the exact same thing I saw without me telling her what I saw. Earlier tonight, my brother told me for the first time his experience in the house, and it was almost the exact same thing without me telling him what I saw since I wanted to test the validity of the experience. I consider myself a very logical person who places a lot of emphasis on scientific evidence, but when it comes to spirits and the topic of the afterlife, this 100% made me a believer.
Hang on.
Have I missed something? Where's the ghost in this?
What? Where's the story?
So
So,
I
was it?
think the
I was staying at
implication
my
is,
grandma's house and saw an old man wearing a buttoned up shirt reading a newspaper at my grandma's dining table by her front door.
I'm going to
That's
assume,
That's the ghost.
yeah, I'm going to
right.
assume this isn't like the granddad. I'm going to assume this is a ghost. I'm going to make a guess there isn't an old man wearing a button up shirt living in this residence
Okay.
and that
Okay.
he's not supposed to be there.
I saw out the corner of my eye, but I had time to get a good look at him before almost instantly vanished.
So there's the ghost.
Right.
He's there, he's
Okay,
gone.
so she's seen a man in a buttoned up shirt reading a newspaper, looked at him, and then he vanished.
Hmm.
Okay.
That is the ghost story. And then two other people saw the same thing.
Right.
Oh,
So I really, really need this story. Really needs if it, obviously, it's not a story. It's a genuine thing that actually happened to someone. But what it really needs is validation from the grandma. I need them saying it to the grandma. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? I need the
These-
grandma's point of view on who this person could potentially be.
Yeah.
This needs a rewrite.
It needs a rewrite. Mm, it's a one, isn't it? Like,
I mean, I didn't want to be the first one to come out of the fucking gate and say it won. It's the most one there's ever been.
Yeah.
it might
it's a
even
new
be
low.
more of a one than Pigman Mechanic Chase. I'm just
Wow.
saying.
Yeah.
Oof.
Just saying. We go 0.9.
It is missing that context where
Yeah, there's
as
just
much that
information.
I can piece together that the ghost is the man in the button-up shirt,
Yeah.
but nothing tells me that he's the ghost.
Nah.
He could just be a neighbor who was like, popped around,
Yeah, there's
read a
no
newspaper, got caught, legged it.
Got caught, fucked off.
Fucking hell. Oh, I've signed up to the local newspaper. I thought I'd just come read yours.
Sorted. That's it. We've solved it.
That's it.
0. Fuck it.
Yes. I mean, well, you got to remember as well, like, they say that children are more likely to see things than adults. You know, they're more influenced by this stuff. But can you believe the word of a child? And then we don't know how. He says it started when he was 11. We don't know how old this person is. What one they're writing this story.
Yeah.
How long this story or experience has had to build up in their head for them to believe it completely themselves. Do you know what I mean?
Based on the literary skills on show, I'd guess not much older than 11.
Yeah.
Wow.
What?
Although they do throw some big words in at the end.
Oh dear. I mean, they did use the word validity.
Validity and emphasis, which
Yeah.
are both fairly big words.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, I wouldn't say this is like anything older than like 12-year-old, 13-year-old writing it.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm sorry.
This is
you
like
might-
GCSE
Sorry if you're
English.
46.
I'm
Got
sorry.
English
kids,
short
got a
story.
mortgage, struggling with your bills, just trying to share your experience,
I'm
and you're being called
sorry.
12.
I'm
Bloke in a
sorry.
button up keeps nicking your newspapers.
I'm sorry that you've had to make this story up to repress the memory of your grandma possibly being a massive whore.
Oh,
She was
Christ,
just
you're
getting strange. She was just getting strange, and that's why he fucked off. We went, shit, there's fucking kids in this house. I'm off. I'm not getting on. I'm getting milk.
Get some milk. Oh, just
so
gonna go buy
are
some
we-
milk and some Marlboro Reds. I'll be back.
Are we all in agreement this is a 1 then?
Yeah.
Is that where we're...
Yeah.
Okay, we'll
Oh,
go
it
on to the next one, which is Imaginary Friend. Lozzie, do you want to...
Oh.
Yes. Right. As a kid, my best friend's younger brother claimed he had an imaginary best friend. Hang on. He's as my best friend's younger brother. Okay, right, yeah. Right. I'm following the story. It's all right. It's all right. I'll start again. As a kid, my best friend's younger brother claimed he had an imaginary best friend, and he would often be playing and talking to this friend. We would make fun of him in light, but still thought it was odd. My father, in a couple of occasions, when visiting this friend and their home, he claimed he would see a shadow run from room to room. Long
Okay.
story short, a family member ended up buying the house or home and is currently living there. Last year for Christmas, we gathered there and ended up talking about the odd occurrences that were going on in this house. I told my story of how my best friend's little brother and his alleged friend, to my surprise, the current homeowners said they too have seen in quotation marks, a kid. And that on 2 occasions, they've had their neighbors ask why they leave their children or child alone.
Now, there was
Ooh.
an extra line that I apparently didn't put into this, which said they have no children.
Okay.
So the neighbours asking them why they leave their child alone. There are no children in the house. Just to add
Ah,
that for clarity.
Okay.
right.
Again, this is very similar to the first story. I mean, to be honest, all of these have followed the same sort of trajectory. It's always been, I've seen something, someone else has corroborated the story in some way.
Hmm.
Now I'm a believer.
Yeah.
I
And
think
it's always something slight. You know what I mean?
yeah. I think potentially seeing a child is more than seeing a Head and Shoulders bottle peering around your doorway.
Yeah.
Seeing a whole ass child in your house walking,
A whole
like
ass
Oh,
child.
child.
the shadow run from room to room. The shadow running from room to room, we can write off. That's a shadow. We've had enough of those.
Yeah.
The actual kid that people are apparently seeing walking around the house, and neighbours are seeing through windows, going, "Why is that child home alone?" There's something a bit more physical, a bit more pronounced there.
Okay, but is there? Is there though? Because there's the homeowners have said they've seen a kid. Now, have they seen an actual physical child in their house, or have they seen something that's moving that is around the size of what a child would be? Same as the neighbors when they're seeing something through the window. When you're looking at something through a window, are there curtains drawn? Are they seeing a shadow behind a curtain? Are they seeing it at the other end of the room, potentially being another shadow? Like, there's not really like any explanation if like the kid that they're seeing is an actual like full on child. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's also a bit of a jump from shadow running from room to now it being a fully
Yeah,
whole ass
that's
child has
a
got.
whole ass child.
So yeah, it is a bit of a jump, but
Mhm.
I understand it's part of the story, so you got to put it in. Oh, I don't know how I feel about this one.
Nah.
So, Loz, you live in a house with no children in it.
No,
If
there's
your
no whole
neighbours,
Only half our children.
if your neighbours came to, if your neighbours came to you tomorrow and said, "Lozzie, why have you left children unattended in your house? We've seen them through the windows."
You'd
I don't
How
say,
are
think.
you
who let them
responding?
out?
I don't- They told me those fucking zip ties were secure as fuck.
Fucking, I even put a deadbolt on the door that I've got to yank the door to myself to lock.
Bought the fucking premium ones. B&Q dummy. I would also say they're probably not going to be the first people to come. I reckon I'm going to get a knock from the police first if they're spotting kids inside my house, knowing that I don't have kids. But yeah, that would shit me up. That always is like with horror, anything paranormal. Whenever a child's involved, you're like, oh, I don't want that. Don't
Yeah.
want, just it's not a good time. So yeah, it would shit me up a little bit. But then also, I would just assume they've made a mistake.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Unless they like, I mean, if they're starting to take photos of my property, I'm probably going to ask questions first. But if they do produce said photograph of my property with a child in it, I have no knowledge of there being a kid in there. Then yeah, that would fuck me up.
Mhm. That's fair.
So,
Yeah.
but having said that, one.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, someone says to me, "Why are you leaving your children unattended in your house?" I'll just reply, "Fucking 5 minutes, peace." No, I'm joking. I don't leave my kids unattended in the house. I just need to put. There's the disclaimer for this video. I do not leave my children unattended in the house.
Just on the street.
Just on the street. Just out in the street.
if anything, you
Breaking
deadbolt
stuff.
them out of the house.
Exactly. It's I don't know. I'd have to agree with Lozzie. Like, it's kind of like I would just assume that they're mistaken of what they've
Mhm.
seen. Obviously, when it's when, like, again, when children are involved and it's an imaginary friend, I think even when they're younger, you know, when they've got that like creeped out little thing because the younger brother had that, I think it's kind of just creeped them out a little bit, so they may have fabricated it in their own minds. Do you know what I mean? They all fucking hell, what was that? I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
But yeah, I'm gonna have to follow it up with a 1.
See, I'm going to give it a 3.
Nice.
I'm feeling a
Oh.
little bit. The imaginary friend thing always gets me because you hear a lot of ghost stories that are use that as their basis.
Yeah.
There've been a lot of, this house was haunted for years. This person had an imaginary friend. There's a few I can think of where that imaginary friend is like a doll.
Yeah.
And it's just the imaginary friend thing in my head I associate with things like Annabelle, Paranormal
Okay.
Activity, that
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of
yeah.
thing.
What
So
do
I
you
think I've got that.
what do you class as an imaginary friend though? Because I mean, I would have sure like I'm sure I've done this as a kid, talk to like an action figure
Mhm.
or something, an object. But I've never talked to like the corner of a room and there being someone
Mm,
there who obviously
Yeah, I
is
think I would guess the imaginary friend thing is kind of you talk to a person you can't see and they talk back to you.
right, okay. So I've never done that.
No.
But
yeah, my
I
kid
don't
has.
how you are?
My kid has.
Oh no.
I can hear him like you're sitting in the like sometimes when you know you're just sitting in I'm sitting in my room, I can just hear him in his just like yabbering away, and I go in there, he ain't got any toys out, he's just fucking talking to himself.
Oh no.
So
But
it's
is he
like
talking to himself or is he talking to someone else?
it's it's really tricky because a lot of the time he's just chatting absolute fucking waffle, so it don't really make fucking
Yeah.
sense.
Because
But
if
like
he's saying his thoughts out loud, I think it's different to if he's
it's
having a
not like
conversation.
it's not like his thoughts out loud. It's like he's kind of it's really tricky to kind of describe what he's kind of doing. It's sort of like he's playing out a scenario of like a game that he's made up in his head or whatever, and he's kind of like, "Oh yeah, no, you're this, and then I'll be this, and then do you know what I mean? Like kind of like sort of like he's explaining something to someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
That sounds like a ghost to me.
It's not. It's just kids just do weird shit, mate.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean,
Like, I'm not being funny. I've got some fucking gnarly stories. Like, fucking what kids get up to, mate. It's fucking like it's weird as shit. Like, yeah, I think when you have kids yourself and you see the fucking weird shit that they do, you just put it down to them. They're just a kid. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
So what I scored this one, you scored a 1, Bailey, and you
Yeah.
scored a 3, didn't you, Scar?
Yeah. Okay, so next up we have 2 experiences for 1. So this person
Jesus,
is
that's
still a bit
small
of a
writing.
skeptic. Yeah. This person's a bit of a skeptic, though given some of their experiences, they perhaps shouldn't be. They've lived in 2 odd houses and almost a third. I don't know
Hang
what
on.
the almost a third
So
means.
what,
No
they
idea.
were going to
They
buy
just
one and
squat.
didn't, or
I've,
They squatted.
I don't know why they included that bit. No idea.
almost lived in a
Um,
third house. You
It's
know?
like they're boasting. It's like a flex. I've lived in
Yeah.
2 odd houses and maybe a third.
Maybe. Who knows? One on purple
so,
bricks, thought about it, didn't go through with it. Anyway, move on.
so they've got 2 stories here for separate places they lived. The
Okay.
first was their grandmother's house. It was one of the first houses in the area, but apparently it was normal until a neighbour started fucking around. Context not provided.
Okay, that's great. Also, the word fucking wasn't added for the audio listeners. It's genuinely in the story.
Yeah, that is in the story, 100%.
Mhm.
Okay. Confirmed.
I was living there with some mates, cheap rent.
Nice.
All of us had the normal kind of stuff. Small lights and shadows moving around down the hall and phantom knocks. The constant feeling someone was watching you. The feeling was bad enough that no one wanted to be alone in that place, though to be honest, I always thought it liked me. This was all well and good until we watched the third Exorcist movie. The movie, well, changed. The posed priest turned and talked to us. For over 20 years, I believed I had some kind of psychotic break. However, about a year ago, my best mate was telling my daughter about that accursed place, lights, shadows, etc. Then he talked about the time the telly talked to us.
Hang
Thing
on, that's
was,
what it does.
we never talked about it. Both of us were afraid we were losing our shit. So we'll break there because there's two stories here.
Okay.
The time the telly talked to us. What do we think?
It fucking talks to me every night, mate. That's how I fucking watch TV and hear
Yeah,
what's going on.
it depends. In this scenario, it obviously isn't explained, but has the TV physically developed a voice, or are they just talking about something that's come through on the television?
I've taken this to mean they're watching the Exorcist movie. The priest is on screen, and
Yeah.
instead of whatever happens in Exorcist 3, because I've not seen it, the priest's gone, I'm going to look down the camera now. Hello, boys.
Hello, boys.
Boys, it's time to break the
Listen,
fourth wall in this film.
Okay, yeah. Okay, no, I understand now.
And I think,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, I read the comments underneath this post and he was answering a few questions. One of the questions was, what did the priest say to you? And I think his response was, the usual stuff, you're going to hell. Which feels like what the priest might have said in The Exorcist. I've not seen it, but that, based on my knowledge of The Exorcist, sounds about right, to be honest.
I didn't realise there was 3.
Yeah, I
no,
didn't.
me either. I thought the one that came out last year was the third one.
Maybe it is.
Possibly. So,
Are we rating that one out of 10, or are you combining
yeah.
these?
Well, I guess we'll combine both for his entire experience.
Yeah,
but
okay.
my initial thought on this was he was just high. That is, I think, is a
Okay.
solid possibility.
There we
Yeah.
go. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm not being funny. I mean, he lived with his mates for cheap rent. So, he's obviously,
The neighbour started fucking around with drugs.
yeah.
Solved it. I might
He's,
have added
yeah.
a bit there, but
He's obviously like late teens, like early 20s sort of age,
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
yeah, I would assume so. So the second was the first place I lived with my future wife and mother of my children. Normal house with an abandoned car out the front.
It's not normal then, is it?
Yeah, abnormal.
No heebie-jeebies during the inspection. No setting off my weird shitter-meter. Though the garage was cold. They tend to be.
Well,
It got progressively weirder. My girlfriend saw a shadow in the mirror while she was showering. My friend who lived with us started hearing crying late at night. Oh, and our dog refused to enter the garage. She would follow my girlfriend everywhere except there. The weirdness peaked when the CD player played by itself. The worst part was the song, like Suicide by Soundgarden, over and over again. Inspected the CD and no scratches. We eventually spoke to the neighbours and found out what happened. A young bloke had gassed himself in a car. What car? Well, the one parked in front of the house, of course.
obviously.
We got the cops to remove the car and the problems disappeared.
Why wouldn't it? Why was it still there?
Yeah,
Why
what?
have they turned that into a lawn ornament?
Why have they taken it out of the garage and just left it in the fucking garden?
And then moved into the house and just went, oh, well, that was there when we moved in, so fuck it, we'll keep it there.
Yeah, like, I'm not being
Decoration, right?
funny. Like, I don't know the process, but if someone does that to themselves in the car, they're not just going to leave the car in the front garden, are they? They're going to take the whole car away, surely, right? No,
I would
assume so.
imagine so.
that's how I would assume so.
I also assume during the inspection when you're, buying the house or whatever, you'd go, oh,
What's
wrecked,
that?
abandoned car.
Yeah, why is there a car in the garden? Oh yeah,
Is that going to be gone when we move in? Yeah,
Someone gassed themselves.
that'll
Oh,
come with the house.
that'll be all right. We'll keep that there.
yeah. I didn't want to tell you about it because that means I've got to knock like 80 grand off the price now. But
What a
yeah,
strange story.
Yeah,
I'm not being funny, right? It this one sits in a strange middle ground for me because it kind of sounds like it's trying to be telling a scary story rather than an experience, but it's told really shit. So it's told like it is an experience. Do you know what I
because
mean?
there's nothing really scary in it.
Yeah, I don't get it.
It doesn't have the scare that I think you would put in if you were trying to make this a scary story.
Yeah,
There are a couple of things in this. I mean, might be a bit far fetched on one of the things I'm about to say, but the dog not going into the garage could be because it's just too cold. Do the dogs like cold? I don't know. I haven't got a dog, so I can't say. Also, the CD only playing one track. You could have the CD player on repeat for one track. I'm just saying. Did you check
True.
the buttons? Did you check the buttons?
I
Have
mean,
you pressed
I,
something incorrectly?
I think if they were writing this as a fictitious story, you would definitely have there not have been a CD in there.
Yeah.
True.
You would definitely have it. It plays this song like "Suicide" by Soundgarden, and then I checked the CD player and it was empty.
Nah, or it was Bon Jovi or something.
Yeah, or it was something that doesn't have that song on it.
I don't know.
So we've
Strange.
got the Exorcist outtake.
He's stoned.
Yeah, that could explain both. To be fair,
I mean, that to be fair, it could explain every single fucking story we've had, but I'm
that is true.
surprised it's taken this long to come up.
I think the talking telly pushed me pushed me over. Yeah.
That's the one that made me think. Yeah, no, he's high as a kite.
Now I'm just imagining the TV actually speaking, like it's off and grows a mouth and just starts speaking like at the
The
bottom of the
VHS player
screen.
starts opening
Yeah,
up.
like classic.
Yeah. So what are we scoring this one out of 10? Well,
1.
Yeah, I'll give it a 2, just because there's a couple of funny bits in it.
Ah,
I think
I'll
a
give
2 is
them what
reasonable.
I know. I said would compile the 2 stories into a score for 1. I'll give them 1 for each story that tally up to a 2.
okay.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
I
That's
will
fair.
follow suit. I'll
Yeah.
follow suit. One apiece, giving it a 2.
I think the second story is definitely the more interesting of the two.
Yeah.
But the fact that they just left the random car that a bloke offed himself in, I'm sort of like, that doesn't feel like something that would happen.
None of it, mate. I mean, you could say a lot of these stories don't really make sense because it's about paranormal, but that is one thing that I just don't understand. You've got an
Yeah.
abandoned car out the front of the house that you just moved into, and you just accept it as part of furniture.
Yeah, I'm not being funny, but if I went to go look at a house, I'll play it out for you. Oh yeah, we're gonna go see this house. Why is there a fucking car in the garden? Excuse me. Why is there a car in the garden? Like before I've even opened the front door, why is there a car in the garden?
Yeah.
It's the first question I'm going to ask because it's the first
Yeah.
thing you see. Why is there a car in the garden? You don't
Yeah,
ignore it.
that's reasonable. Okay, so next one we've got 6-foot shadow figure. Loz, do you want to take this one?
Yeah. Oh, we did discuss this very briefly before we actually did record this episode. I feel like the title of this isn't that ominous. 6 foot isn't really that.
Yeah,
that
when I wrote that, it felt bigger than now I actually think about it.
okay.
Oh,
I
so
mean,
this story is called 7-foot shadow figure.
which
I
would
feel
match.
like in retrospect, shadow
From-
figure probably would have just been better.
This
Yeah.
is the 7-foot shadow figure from Cannock Chase.
That's it. Yeah, I was going to say links all to Cannock Chase. So, my family was deeply evangelical. We didn't believe in angels or demons coming to us, or that dead relatives could be contacted, anything like that. They legit called it Catholic propaganda. Jesus Christ. There's a few. If you're Catholic, I'm reading the story, all right? Just don't come at us. When I was 16, my parents were going through a pretty bad divorce, and my mum moved out to an apartment where both of us were living. I had some friends over one night, and we were bored and decided to tell ghost stories. At some point, all of our lights went off, and the door to the balcony opened. It was a sliding door, so it couldn't be the wind. I also lived on the fourth floor, so it couldn't have been an intruder. I brushed it off as strong winds and went to sleep. You just contradicted yourself, but okay. My friends were scared shitless. Fast forward a few weeks, I came home from my then BF's house late at night and went to take a shower. When I was ready to sleep, I opened my mum's bedroom. It was the only one with air conditioning, so we shared it. And there was this 6 foot tall woman in a nightgown standing right by the door, hunched over. She had a long black hair like my mum, and I couldn't really see her face, but I thought it was just my mum getting up for a late night snack. I called, "Mum, sorry for coming late. I didn't mean to wake you up." No response. As she walked past me without looking, I turned my back to see if I was hallucinating, and sure enough, she was gone. That night, I had a horrible sleep paralysis episode, and to this day, I see that woman haunting me in my peripheral vision when I'm walking home at night. I don't know who she is or what she wants. She has never hurt me or anyone else, but she has made me believe ghosts are real.
So first things first. Turns out I made up the fact she was a shadow figure as well. So terrible title.
So
Just
yeah,
six
the
foot.
title's shit. Right, so
Yeah,
the title gets a 1.
yeah. Title disregard it. That's on me. This was the last one I
Okay.
titled. I rushed it.
So this should have been called 6 foot tall woman.
Yes.
Yeah, which honestly is more attention catching than 6 foot shadow figure.
Yes.
True. Yeah, that is that.
Mm.
Yeah, that would catch your attention more.
Okay. This one's probably like got the most scare factor for
Mhm.
sure from what we've heard so far. Um yeah. I know.
Yeah, I mean, if you open the door to what you think is going to be your mum's room, and there's a 6 foot tall woman in a nightgown with her hair over her face, or with long black hair that you can't see the face of, just sort of standing hunched over, probably going to be a bit concerned. But then, if that person starts walking towards me and just walks past me, I don't think I'd be stood there as casually to go, huh,
Yeah.
oh, she's gone. I'd be like, hang on a minute.
I mean, also
Yeah.
when she sees when they see the woman, the 6 foot tall woman in a nightgown, and they say it looks like their mum, is their mum usually hunched over?
Is she usually 6 foot tall?
Yeah, is she usually 6 foot tall?
These are questions.
Does your mum usually get up to go for a late night snack? Is that normal
Why are you
behaviour?
sharing a bedroom with your mum? I've got many questions.
Air conditioning.
Air
Mm,
conditioning.
Nothing to
mm.
do with, you know, any anything else, just air conditioning. They did contradict themselves within the first 2
I
paragraphs
did.
about the wind, but
Yeah.
it could have
Maybe
been the wind, but I put it down to the wind being the cause.
Put it down to the sleep. I went open my mum's bedroom. It's the only one with air conditioning, that's why we shared it. It was winter and it was -12 outside. Yeah. Um
Ah,
it's definitely the creepiest one we've had, for
mhm.
sure. It's definitely the creepiest one. And it's the one that's it's not kind of down to something in your peripheral vision that's kind of could be a trick of the light
Yeah,
or just a shadow. This is a physical apparition of a tall woman
right in front of you.
right in front of her that walks past there.
Mhm.
So scare factor is already through the roof compared to the other ones.
Yeah,
Mm,
it's a
I
tough one.
agree. There's the element of, you know, a 6 foot tall woman hunched over, black hair, dressed in a gown, all this sort of stuff. Very, it's a trope, isn't it, of horror, and
yeah.
It does
that,
almost sound like The Grudge.
Yeah,
yeah.
I literally, yeah, you just hear grudge.
But when you think logically about this one, she literally walks right past this person, this 6 foot woman, and she's still like not. She's not clocked that it's not her mum
Mhm.
Where
until,
was the mum?
yeah.
That's a good question.
Was the mum in bed? Was this thing just like hovering over her?
Mhm.
Because that's what
And then
obviously she's coming back late. That would assume that the mum was asleep in the bed and she didn't
yeah,
realise that. Yeah,
then that does then lead into uh, I turned around to see if I was hallucinating and she was gone, which makes me think you might have just been hallucinating. If there's a reason you thought you would have been hallucinating in the first place,
How does that work? Like, if you turn like 180 degrees the other direction, is that how they test to see if someone's hallucinating? Just do a quick
that is
180 for me, bruh.
It's the
Yeah, you're not,
medical.
mate. You're not. That's cool. Yeah, I like that they've tried to make the story kind of scary by including that
Yeah.
the 6 foot
Yeah.
tall woman and how they've described her. But from the actual logic point, this cannot score above a 1. So it's another 1.
Yeah. Because I don't know. It's like bit of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not great.
Do you
I'm
know
gonna
what I
give it a
mean?
I'm gonna give
Like,
it a 2.
you're full of shit, mate. He's just telling a scary story.
If
Like,
this happened to me, it's a
if
10.
if it happened to me, then yeah, it's the scariest thing in the fucking world,
Some of
and
the
I
other ones
believe in
we've had,
ghosts now.
yeah, some of the other ones we've had, if they happened to me, I'd be like, seeing the shadows, I'd be like, not great,
I
not a
see them all
10.
the time. I just saw
Yeah,
one.
it's not a 10. Whereas this, I'm like
Shadows
10.
exist,
Yeah.
everyone.
Look at this.
If this had happened to me, probably like 10, never sleeping again. The
So,
grudge is in
Yeah.
my house.
Like, yeah. I'm not being funny. This
Animal.
was when you were 16. Yeah, so 16 years old, you see this, you're shitting your pants, you're believing in ghosts. It's
Hmm.
fact. Because you would. I'm not being funny.
Yeah.
You can't. You would. If you turn around and then your mum's actually in bed and that thing just shouldn't have been there, then yeah. But then you probably
Probably.
you probably put yourself down to fucking hallucinating, so you probably might not believe in ghosts. I'm
I put
chatting shit
myself
as
into an
well.
asylum,
So
an institute at
it's a
that
one.
point.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
one.
Okay, yeah, fair. I'm going 2, but yeah, I see it.
oh,
So we've got this one, which is called Urban Exploring.
Nice.
I came face to face with a ghost.
Brilliant start.
A few years ago, I never really believed in
End of
ghosts,
story.
but my friends were obsessed with all things paranormal and also had a knack for urban exploring. They wanted me to go on a trip with them to eastern Massachusetts to explore an abandoned hospital in Taunton. They said had a metric fuckload of ghosts, a sad history, and ritual cult sacrifice. Halfway through, it wasn't even sundown yet, and I wandered into the basement after some of my friends wanted to see his one room with that aunt's old graffiti in it. And I got his with this miasma, like I inhaled a ton of smoke. I'm going to assume that's I got hit with this miasma, like I inhaled a ton of smoke. I walked over to a small room to catch my breath, and then I heard some shuffling from around the corner. When I looked to see what it was this old guy roaming around in circles with a limp neck, like a foot away from me. I booked it the hell out of there and yelled at my friends to come outside with me.
okay.
A foot
I
is
mean,
really close, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
realistically.
that was what I was thinking. A foot is like what?
You heard
Was
shuffling
that
around the
12,
close?
12 inches, isn't it? It's like that, isn't it? That's about a foot.
How high was this guy?
I looked around to see what it was, and he is literally
It's literally
inches from my
he's in my
face doing
face.
doing donuts.
He's literally in my face with a fucked leg.
Fuck neck,
A fucked neck. Sorry.
limp neck.
Why is I'm fucking hell? That's it.
I
I
mean,
don't even,
if
can't even compute how that even comes about. How are you surprised by something that's 12 inches away from your fucking face?
that person is a subway away from you.
Yeah,
That's it.
literally, you're a subway away.
That
As
is
in
how
the
I'm picturing
sandwich.
this measurement.
Subway sandwich. Which is about that, but it was about that big.
Yeah.
I'd say that's about a foot.
Next time we ask how big something is, like how many acres is whatever,
Yeah.
we're just gonna do it in subways.
I
All
have
right.
We do
previously
it in
measured
subways.
something in Shaquille O'Neal, so we're
Yeah,
getting.
last week we got Shaquille O'Neal's. Yeah. That's great.
In Shrek.
Shaquille O'Neal is 7 subways tall, by the way, for anyone wondering.
7 subways.
He's a 7-foot man.
There you go.
That's good. He's
7 subs.
7 subs.
So this would shit me up. I'd probably shit my pants just there and then. There'd be no. If I'm in a basement of an abandoned asylum, I turn around and there's a bloke doing circles with a fucked neck.
He's doing donut with a fucking limp neck.
He's a crackhead, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to assume this man was some sort of ghost.
It's not. It's not though. Like he's in.
Or,
Like he's
yeah.
already said, he's in an abandoned hospital. Yeah.
Now you
Crackhead.
pointed out this just isn't a ghost. You're right. This is just a crack.
It's
This is a
just
homeless
in a
crackhead.
crackhead. That's why he's just walking around in circles with a limp neck because he's tripping his fucking nut, mate.
If
He's
you
a
could see
crackhead.
his face, he's probably gurning big time.
Yeah.
Oh, you have absolutely solved it. That no,
I
at no
am.
point here
I'm
does
going
any
to
of this
kick.
sound like
I'm
a
going to
ghost.
kick the rating off with a 10
10 out.
because that genuinely happened because it was a crackhead, not a ghost.
I think this guy's left and convinced himself it was a ghost.
Yeah, no, it was a crackhead, mate.
In
That
fact,
story was real.
I would also say the miasma that he had, like he inhaled a ton of smoke,
May have been. May
may
have
have
been
just
crack
been
smoke.
drugs.
Just
Yeah,
crack smoke.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
But
No, 10. You're right. This is it. This is the winner.
This happened. This was real. I
little
believe the
piece of
story.
meat.
That's it.
Yeah. Are we going for 10 as well, Loz?
I mean, yeah, this is probably. I've never been more confident about how something panned out in reality than what we have just discussed right now.
Yeah.
So that's a 10 out of 10.
There we go.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we leave it there.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think
happy
that is
to.
the perfect end. So, we have now got question of the pod.
Yes.
Pod.
Question of the pod.
So, the question of the pod for this episode is from Lee Ashworth Richardson and is, what would the definitive piece of proof / evidence that would make you stop investigating?
Crackhead in a hospital.
I
Just-
mean,
What? Just a kid? Do they have to do anything, or do they just appear? He's
I'm
gone.
done. I'm done
He's-
again.
he's- he's
I'm
had
just done
enough.
again.
crackhead in a
Once
hospital.
Once
See
a
you
week, this
later.
will happen. I promise. Once a week, it will happen. I don't know why it happens. It just does.
That's it.
Yeah, crackhead in
Even-
a hospital.
Even the thought of it is just like,
Yeah.
no, straight
That's
out.
it. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. What was the question again? Is what's the proof
what
that made me
piece of
stop doing it?
evidence, yeah, would make you stop doing it?
I think it would have to be like a physical apparition in front of me threatening serious harm on me and my family. I think that like because I've been threatened with violence through an Estes method before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know
It
what I
would have
mean?
to be like a demon fucking scratching at me,
Yeah. Like it would
something
have to be
picking me
something
up,
physical.
something throwing one of us across the room. You know, if that happens, I'm considering things a lot more.
Nah, we're fucking
Oh.
pushing it harder, mate. We're going in deep.
I'm going to incite violence.
That's it. I'll push him
Lozzie's
back.
gonna throw me across the.
Look, just
To
to
see
do
what
what I
happens.
just did to Scott.
I'm unconscious in a corner.
Yeah, Jordan's
Blood
there.
dripping down
Repeat
my
after me. Pat, pat, pat. Lozzie's there. Do what I do. I'm just fucking launching him across the room.
Stop pussy
The
around.
pat,
like,
pat, pats are just right hooks on my face.
Yeah, pat, pat, pat. Another 4 pats as you're getting launched down the stairs.
And to be fair, I think if one of us is probably going to get targeted by anything physically, unfortunately, Scott, I do think it would be you. The amount of times you come up in Estes
I
methods.
think it would have to. Yeah, unfortunately, I agree.
Yeah.
So I think I would be in agreement with Bailey here. If anything happened or was threatened to happen to any of us or any of our families, I think that would make me go, is it really worth it?
Is it?
I would definitely consider things at that point, if
Yeah.
nothing else.
Yeah,
There
it's
would be a
just
serious
there,
consideration.
Yeah,
contemplate.
let's
Right.
just continue talking about paranormal stuff in the safety of our homes on a podcast. Let's just
Yeah,
carry on doing
I feel
that.
much safer there than I do in the ancient Ramin being chased around by sex demons.
That sounds like a fucking good Wednesday evening to me,
Say
mate.
Great weekend away.
That's it. That's,
All
yeah.
for eating to death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sat there as you hear through the Estes method. I will display Scott's entrails on the wall, and Scott's like, is this what I want to do? Is this right? I don't know. I
Just
think
sat
I
there
need,
going, what
think
life choices have I made that have led me to this?
how
Yeah.
long's the coach journey back?
Ooh.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that would be the thing that would, actual physical
Yeah.
violence would at least make me contemplate it. And depending on how serious, that could be the thing that would make me go, it's not worth it.
Yeah,
That
that's
or
when it comes
crackheads.
to, yeah. Or crackheads.
Yeah. To be fair, that is a great point because if we
If
did
we're
ever
ever in,
against a crackhead, I
if there's
think
ever an abandoned place and there's just a crackhead sprinting at us with a knife,
I'm waiting for
never again.
your first abandoned one, Scott, because I will put fucking money on it. If that's gonna happen, it will be the first time you join us to an abandoned one.
Oh, I'll walk into the room first and there'll just be a bloke stood in the corner looking at me and it'll be like,
Yeah, we'll let Scott get in first. He turns around. Yeah, it's all right. Throat slit, dead. Ah, right, okay.
just
Well, he lied then, didn't
checking
he?
out the neighbourhood.
Scott was a liar.
Yeah.
I think I don't think just hearing stuff on an Estes method or dowsing rods or a pendulum. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? If you've got that physical thing in front of you saying, "Listen, mate, if you fucking keep doing this, like, I'm gonna fucking do you in, boy." Do you know what I mean? You wanna fuck off now?
Yeah.
You'll be like,
Yeah,
yeah. Do you know what? Let's go. Let's cut it short.
Yeah.
Get a Mackey's and go home.
Hearing things on an Estes method gets you in the moment sometimes.
Yeah.
But long term, it's still just a voice in a box that isn't physically doing anything.
Yeah.
So I think we're all in agreement. It's either some sort of spirit or anything demon comes through and says like there's going to be physical harm, or does actually physically harm any of us or threaten our family, or crackhead with a knife. I think those are the two scenarios that we go as a team, sit down and go, shall we not do this?
Shall
I
we
think we know which
reconsider?
one's the most likely to happen as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately for the views, it's not the demon.
No.
It's the
Although
crackhead
I reckon
with
a
a knife.
crackhead would get views as well, actually.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially if
Yeah.
they're
Probably a
Jewish.
different
Oh no,
audience.
got it. Possessed man chases us with knife.
Oh,
There we go.
yes.
That's it.
Combine them both together.
Possessed by crack cocaine.
Yeah, possessed by crack cocaine.
It takes in possession to a completely new.
Yeah. He's possessed. He's possessed. He's got possession of crack cocaine. Possessed. He's possessed.
Oh dear.
Good. So that is an episode of the Drip Podcast.
There is.
That is an episode of the Dripcast, whatever. I
Dripcast.
don't know. We've been here for a long time listening to stories. You've been listening to the Drip Podcast. Thank you all for joining us, guys. We will see you in the next one.
See you later.
Bye.
That's the fucking outro. Oh, no, you said intro. Fucked it.